Sydney Supanova. It's exciting. It's huge.
Pretty big.
But we've been here before.
Yes.
We know the drill. Al and I are going to check out some issue number 1s, plus a graphic novel and a novel.
Yes, and we're also going to be having a chat with some of the creatives, as well as the CEO of IDW.
Yeah,
so that's going to be fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're going to do Ray's collectible run again. Going to pick out a few goodies for the old show bag. Plus, I thought I'd pop by the Madman booth and see what those guys are up to as well.
Awesome. So you know the drill. We know the drill. Let's get into Supanova.
And break.
Recent comic book movies coming out, we've been doing a lot of themed episodes, which are always fun, but it's been too long since we've looked at some of the new releases coming out.
Absolutely, and we figured that Supanova would be a fantastic opportunity to jump back onto the new release shelf and see what new titles you can get your grubby little mitts on this week.
That's right. The first one we're taking a look at is from Marvel and Disney, and it's for our younger readers. Figment, written by Jim Zub with art by Philippe Andrade, is the story of a frustrated genius in Victorian London who builds a machine that manifests a small purple dragon from his imagination.
Ah, that old chestnut. It's a good premise, and Figment, the imaginary childhood friend made flesh, is just as adorable as you would expect with anything to do with Disney. But this first issue isn't without its problems. For one thing, the story takes quite a while to get going. It really isn't until the hyperactive little dragon shows up about 10 pages in that this first issue finds its stride.
I can see what you're saying, but Andrade's artwork carried me up to that point quite easily, with attractive character models and some really nice steampunk elements, along with strong colour work by Jean-Francois Ballieu.
But again, the artwork is best once Figment shows up. You know, he injects this much-needed energy into the story as a whole. Once this becomes the buddy comedy that it's clearly meant to be, it's a lot of fun, but with the other drawbacks, I'm only going to be able to go as far as a borrow for this one. Okay,
fair enough. Well, I really enjoyed it, and it passes the acid test for me. I want to read issue number 2, so that's a buy from me. Now for our next review, let's make like Doug Quaid and get our asses to Mars.
Red City is a new sci-fi noir mashup from Image Comics, written by Daniel Corey, with art by Mark Dos Santos, and centering on Cal Talmadge, a prototypical noir protagonist with a matchstick constantly hanging out of his mouth.
You know, it's weird, but that matchstick really put me off when I saw it on the cover. The story is set centuries in the future, where all the planets in the solar system have become populated and every second person is an alien. I mean, seriously, are we still using matches? I mean, that just seemed a little anachronistic to me.
Yeah, but honestly, to a great extent, I felt like the sci-fi elements of this comic were more or less just set dressing. I mean, it felt like a standard detective noir that just happened to have some aliens in it. You know, the sci-fi was very much just painted over the top.
But hey, we like detective noir. Yeah. So long as there's witty, acerbic banter and some good action, we're sold.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the banter is pretty weak and occasionally even nonsensical. But what about the action? What did you think of the art?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Most of the character models are solid, but I felt there was a little sense of movement, particularly in the rare action scenes. And the opportunity to create a dark and seedy Blade Runner-esque city is completely lost. I really didn't think much of this at all, and I'm gonna give it a berry.
Yeah, I've got to agree, honestly. I actually had a bit of trouble getting through this first issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got sci-fi, it's got noir, which are two of my favourite genres, but it fails to do either of them justice, so I'm going to give it a berry as well. Now onto our third and final review.
Yes, now this is a title I am very excited to have my hands on. The Wicked and the Divine, written by Kieran Gillen with art by his frequent collaborator, Jamie McKelvey.
Now, we've seen comics where science is the new rock and roll, or where superheroes are considered pop stars, but this comic takes magic, music, and religion, throws them into a blender, and then juices the absolute crap out of them. In a world not so different from our own, gods walk the earth, reincarnated into the bodies of 12 teenagers.
But the reincarnation only happens once every 90 years, and these young gods only get 2 years before they die. In this first issue, we meet sun goddess Amaterasu, warrior cat goddess Sekhmet, who is awesome, and a Ziggy Stardust-inspired Lucifer, who is likely to be everyone's favourite.
But of course, not everyone is comfortable with the idea of gods manifesting themselves, especially when one of them is apparently the devil. So there's conflict aplenty. There's a tremendous scope to this story when you consider all the previous incarnations that we can jump back to, let alone examining why these gods are here at all.
Yeah, and McKelvey is on point as always. There's a deceptive simplicity to the artwork that is disrupted to great effect in some of the more dramatic moments. The character models are simply lovely, and I cannot wait to see the rest of the gods show up. This is an exciting new series that I am so into, and I'm definitely giving it a buy.
Absolutely. Look, from Lucifer's constant song lyric referencing to Sekhmet's obsession with laser pointers, these are gods that I would happily worship. And we've only met a few of them so far.
I know.
I'm definitely giving this a big buy.
Yeah.
You've got to check this one out. Now, what more gods do you think are going to show up? What other ones?
Oh, I don't know. I'd like to see some Norse gods like Odin or Freya, or maybe Eastern ones like Lakshmi or Kuan Yin.
That would be cool. I'm hoping for some of the Greeks. You know, maybe Hephaestus or Pan. You have got to love a god who always shows up with booze and has goat legs.
Yeah, I guess so.
Everyone loves goat legs.
So with me now I have Kent Kobe, who is the writer and creator of a fabulous book called Good Dog Whiskey, which I adore. Kent, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us to Kapow.
Oh, cheers, thank you.
So you're here at Supanova, you're here with Good Dog Whiskey. Tell me a bit about how this book came into existence.
It was one of those deals that had a dream. And usually with dreams, usually when you try and portray it to someone else, it comes off really fragmented and broken.
Yeah.
With this one, I woke up and it had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
It's all there.
And I felt like I had witnessed something. And I felt like it was almost my duty to share that story because I was the only survivor of this event. So that's basically how Good Dog Whiskey came to be.
That's amazing. So this is your first graphic novel. Were there any influences that kind of were rattling around in your brain when you were kind of putting this together?
Not initially. It's one of those deals when I was growing up, I was exposed to Marvel and DC and later on to Dark Horse.
Sure.
But the comics that I were reading weren't quite of the same nature. So I felt a little bit rudderless in the beginning.
Sure, because whiskey's got a very unique voice and style that, yeah, it's not kind of like your normal splashy pages.
No. But people exposed me to artists like Frank Miller.
Amazing.
Which was absolutely amazing because it exposed me to the art that I wanted to do. Sure. This strong black and white, high contrast art.
Yep.
So it really motivated me to stick to that.
Awesome, and it works so beautifully for this story, I think.
Thank you.
It's so good. So do we have a kind of a future for whiskey, or is this story done? Do we have something else coming up in the pipeline?
Well, when I was making whiskey, before I published, I actually made 2 endings.
Yep.
One for continuity and to continue the story, and one was actually true to the dream, and I really wrestled with that in the beginning. Eventually I went with what the dream was, so that I could hand it to someone and say, here's the dream, here's the real story.
That's amazing.
But then afterwards I was thinking about it, and I realized that the stories that I had in mind could still happen.
Sure.
So yes, there's more coming to Good Dog Whiskey. A little bit more explaining a little more of the backstory.
Sure.
And going more into the future.
That's so exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing these ones. So I obviously have read Good Dog Whiskey. If anybody out there wants to read it, how can they get their hands on it?
You can go to King's Comics. They're one of the sole stores that have the physical copy.
Amazing.
Besides that, you can go online to Amazon.com or the Book Depository.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming along and taking your time out of busy Supanova schedule to have a chat with us.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go to any Supanova expo across the country and you're going to find a Madman booth chock full of anime and manga and culty goodness. Now there's a lot of hot titles on offer, but nothing comes close to this release. It's the Attack on Titan limited edition. It comes with 3D lenticular art card, hardcover art box, military emblem pins, replica necklace worn by Eren Yeager, sword necklace, episode commentaries, and making of. And what's that? Yes, more. Rumour has it that one of these limited editions comes with your very own Titan. No? What's that? It got out? How's it even possible? It's 6 stories tall and you can't even find it? Well, get Levi or someone. I can't do it. My maneuver gear's at home and I don't really know how to use it anyway, all right? Okay, update guys. The Titan doesn't come with the limited edition. Instead, you have to find it, like a Pokemon. Gotta collect them all. However, thanks to the guys at Madman, Kapow are giving you the chance to win your very own limited edition of Attack on Titan. But how do you win? How do I win? How do I win? All you have to do is take a picture of yourself and your best smiling Titan face and send it to our Facebook fan page, and in a week's time, we'll pick the winner. But what if you've already seen Attack on Titan and you've read the manga up to date and you've already got the limited edition and you've already found the Titan and he's in your backyard and he's eating both your parents and you want more? Well, I'm here to give you my top 3 picks of Madman's soon-to-be-released titles. 1. Blast of Tempest Collection 2. One day, a single girl was suddenly murdered and the culprit still runs free. The story revolves around 2 friends as they seek out the killer of Mahiro's sister and stop the Kurosabi tribe from awakening the Tree of Exodus. It's got great character development, beautiful visuals, a superb soundtrack, and it also heavily references Shakespeare's The Tempest. 2. Berserk, The Golden Age Arc 3, The Advent. The horrifying conclusion to the Golden Age unfolds in a magnificently violent nightmare, signifying the birth of a new era. This is the last film that attempts to capture the hit manga series in a trilogy. It's got to be on your list. For action fanatics, it's up there with the best. I'm not asking you to watch it. I'm telling you to watch the original series and then the trilogy of films because it looks awesome and it's just bloody cool. 3. Watanabe and Kano are back. What's it called? Terror in Resonance. In an alternate version of the present, Tokyo has been decimated by a shocking terrorist attack, and the only hint to the identity of the culprit is a bizarre video uploaded to the internet. While the world searches for a criminal mastermind to blame this tragedy, 2 mysterious children form a clandestine entity determined to wake the people from their slumber and pull the trigger on this world. And you can start watching this on July 6th, direct from Japan on Madman's new streaming service, Anime Lab. Could this be the Attack on Titan for 2014? I'm hopeful. Now go get your Titan faces on.
There are a great many ways to effectively start a story. I mean, you can start with a few words or with just a picture. You can start with a quote, with a burst of action, with a flashback, sometimes a flash forward, sometimes even a flash sideways. That's a bit more difficult.
It is.
The one way I don't think I've ever seen a story start before is with a butterfly having a conversation with a dead rabbit.
Yeah, me either, actually, oddly enough. And yet it is with just such a conversation that writer Kelly Sue DeConnick and artist Emma Rios begin Volume 1 of Pretty Deadly. Starting the tale this way gives it a whole kind of twisted Wild West feeling of an Aesop fable.
Absolutely, and it keeps that dark fairy tale feel throughout. We're introduced to a young girl in a vulture skin cloak who tells the story of a beautiful woman locked away in a tower by her jealous husband and then rescued by a dark stranger.
It could almost be the plot of a Disney movie, except that the dark stranger is actually death, and when Beauty bears him a child, the baby is destined to become a woman named Deadface Ginny, who brings vengeance to all men who have sinned.
So yeah, somewhat less like a Disney story there, but then this book isn't so much like anything else when you get down to it. I think DeConnick really took some chances in the way this volume is structured.
Yeah.
You've got that story within a story style, you've got the chaotically paced narrative, and even some fairly unexplained plot points, but it still adds up to this brilliant story.
Yeah, there are some moments of magical realism that you just kind of have to roll with, but it kind of strengthens that otherworldliness of the narrative.
Yeah.
It's not dissimilar to manga in that sense.
Absolutely. Now, I know you must be dying to talk about the artwork, because Emma Rios really does a brilliant job here.
Yes, not to mention Jodie Bellaire's work on colours, which is so wonderful. The whole volume is awash with shades of brown and blue, truly evocative of time and place. And Rios is completely on her game, making every page feel like a tarot card being turned over. It's hard to say whether I was more impressed by the majestic splash pages or by the magnificently chaotic fight scenes.
Deadface Ginny has some pretty stupendous throwdowns, doesn't she?
Absolutely. When those bullets and the swords start flying, there's a slight blurring and distortion of the figures. It's as if they're moving too fast for the human eye to follow. It's amazingly effective.
This is all in all a very impressive book with enough mysticism, violence, and occasional nudity to keep just about anyone happy. I loved it. I'm giving it a buy.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious I'm going to give this one a buy as well. This is such a wonderful example of a really great collaboration between the writer and the artist coming together and creating this amazing story with one very distinct voice. It's so awesome. Go and grab yourself a copy.
I'm here with Vic Dean, the creator of Hazard comic series. Thanks for having a chat with us today, Vic.
Thanks, mate.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about Hazard?
Yeah, so basically Hazard, the story starts with we come into contact with an everyday guy.
Yep.
I'm a construction worker by trade. I do this part-time. It's purely a labour of love. So I really wanted to have something that was based on a guy who, his parents weren't killed, he's not a mutant, there's nothing really special about this guy.
Yeah.
And around him, the world is really going to hell. There's two organisations in this world that are really Big Brother type complex, that are surveilling the world and keeping track of what's going on everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's all tied to our main character, Nico, but he doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
And page one, it starts with gunfire.
Yeah.
There's bullets going everywhere. So I wanted to sort of hit the ground running really fast. So, and then it basically becomes a story of Nico's trying to find out what his secret is before he gets killed for it.
Yeah.
He has no idea what is going on. He's just trying to keep himself alive. If someone was coming after you with a gun, you're an average guy, I'm an average guy, what would you do?
Probably just run.
That's exactly right. And he meets a lot of interesting guys along the way that obviously help him and keep him alive, and I really wanted it to be something that an average fan could pick up and relate to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does have that everyman aspect. It's this guy just, for no reason that he can figure out, he's suddenly in mortal danger every page.
That's right.
So,
first page he's working in his garden.
Yeah.
Everyone, I'm sure here at some point has planted a flower, mowed the lawn, done those things, So that's where I really wanted to start
and
it.
usually you don't get shot at when that happens.
No, I've never been shot at in my garden. And I'm from the West, so...
So you would have thought at least once.
Yeah.
But look, it's a fantastic piece of work. Obviously, it's a comic series, so this is just the first issue that we've got out now.
Yeah.
So what's the future looking like for Hazard?
So this is the first issue of a 6-story arc, and it will be ongoing. So I have written the complete arc, it's finished.
Right.
There's a few issues in production now, and then I have just kicked off writing issue 7.
Fantastic.
So it will be a complete ongoing series.
Great. And I suppose most importantly, where are people going to be able to get their hands on Hazard?
So this weekend has been my first time bringing the book to market. I've sent out a few digital copies and stuff like that, and hopefully we've had a few interest from some stores. I've had a few people come up and like, hey, we'd like to talk about stocking and stuff like that. But at the moment, through any of my social medias, you can contact me and I can get books out to people. And with PayPal, it makes it so easy to buy things online now because it's quite safe. When I first started collecting and seriously trying to buy things online off people, they were send me your bank account details. And I'm like, no one wants to do that online,
really
no. So PayPal's made that really easy. So being able to contact me through Facebook, and I can send out issues, or hopefully in the future we'll be able to pick up some stores that'll stock it as well.
Absolutely. Look, well, as I say, it's a great piece of work. Everybody should keep their eye out for it. And thank you so much for having a chat with us.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Right, going to take you all on another Ray's collectible run. There's a lot to look at. Let's get to it. Okay, Drew, we just stumbled across your amazing mosaics. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions, like what inspired you to make these?
I just like to make pictures of like pop culture figures. Yeah. I also do like business logos and family photos.
Oh, cool.
But here at Supanova, the Joker and the Killing Joke,
yeah,
it's my favourite Batman comic, so
cool.
it had to be done.
All right, and how long does something like this take you?
To plan it, it takes about 30 hours to build a plan.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then to actually build this one took about 150 hours.
Wow, that's a lot. As always, plenty of goodies to find. This year, Rodimus Prime. Why not? Let's go back to the originals. This here is a masterpiece Rodimus. You want? I want. Start your engines. Mighty Mouse watch? Check. Sports almanac? Check. This is definitely a centerpiece in my eyes, the Kotobukiya X-Men Danger Room Sessions Cyclops. I might even buy it, add it to my Magneto in the collection. Shh. This is the crux of community interaction right here.
Today I have Zoe Humphreys, who is from the New South Wales Adult Literacy and Numeracy Council, and she's here to have a chat to us about a fantastic charity that Kapow is very pleased to be involved with, called Comics for Cause. Thanks for joining us today, Zoe.
Most welcome.
So, what are the numeracy and literacy rates in Australia at the moment?
Well, the estimate is that approximately 44% of the adult population have below level 2 skills.
Right.
And that in this day and age is very concerning because most jobs now you need to have at least a level 3 and most training courses for jobs again need kind of level 3 skills.
And it can be quite a confronting thing to be an adult and not have those skills.
It's very problematic for people. I mean, people develop wonderful strategies for managing this. And also if somebody can be computer literate without being necessarily text literate, in which case they can use various apps to read stuff aloud for them.
So Comics for Cause, people can donate their comic books to be given to the New South Wales Council. Do you think comic books are a good way to help promote literacy?
I think they're an excellent way because, for one thing, an adult can read an adult graphic novel without anyone making any assumptions about their literacy level.
Correct.
They're also, you know, they're colourful, they encourage people to read, they're quite exciting. You know, it's not the same as being told, okay, well, you've got to work on your reading and writing. Okay, here's Dr. Seuss, or, you know, some not very exciting story about, you know, something, or, you know, some worthy kind of story you can actually read about, and you can pick up what the story is about from the pictures. The narrative is kind of there visually, which also helps you pick up, oh, right, okay, that's what that word means, or okay, you know. I mean, and many children also learn from reading comic books. You know, a lot of reluctant readers became fluent readers through the medium of graphic novels.
That's amazing. So all the comic books that get donated obviously come to the Literacy Council. Once they're all kind of sorted through, where are they going to be distributed?
Well, we've got, at the moment, we've kind of got a list of different organisations who've expressed an interest. The education units within New South Wales prisons are all very interested.
Great.
There's a number of homeless education projects that are for homeless or resettled people who are also interested. All of these organisations have restricted funds, and so being able to offer your students and people who are kind of dropping in thinking, oh, maybe I'll start to work on this, a colourful, age-appropriate, interesting resource is just, well...
it's pretty awesome to be able to actually hand that across and go, here we go.
Great.
If there are organisations that have seen this and go, yes, we need to get involved with that, can they get in contact with you? How can they do that?
They can indeed. The New South Wales Adult Literacy and Numeracy Council has a website.
Awesome. And if people have comic books that they want to donate, who is best for them to contact?
Well, we would consider that it's best to go through Comics for Cause, and they have a Facebook page that you can find out all of the details that you need.
Amazing. Now, we're very excited because here at Kapow we've decided to start an auction to help this cause. So we will be auctioning off this amazing 0-year Batman poster signed by Snyder and Greg Capullo, plus, thank you, the Joker Death of the Family, once again signed by Capullo and Snyder. Will be all the the auction results will be passed on to the New South Wales Literacy Council. We'll be running that through eBay, but come on over to the Kapow Facebook page and we'll give you all the details on that one. It will be run through eBay. Thank you so much, Zoe, for coming on and having a chat. Bit of noise in the background there, but it's all good. It is a fantastic cause, and I think it's one that is really important.
Yeah, good.
Thank you. So Supanova is a great time to pick up some new things, as well as touch base with a few old favourites. So we thought we would take a look at a new riff on an old favourite.
Gatlin. Oh, so okay. As you may have guessed from that, we're taking a look at something to do with the Jim Henson classic, The Dark Crystal.
Yep.
As you may also have guessed, Sonya seems to have some unresolved issues with Skeksis.
I warned you never to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, but yes, we are taking a look at the novelisation of Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal, written by A.C.H. Smith with illustrations by Brian Froud.
Now, it's always tricky adapting a beloved childhood favourite, and it doesn't get much more beloveder than the Jim Henson Creature Shop. For the uninitiated, The Dark Crystal is the story of, funnily enough, a magic crystal that cracked thousands of years ago, creating two new races, the peaceful mystics and the evil Skeksis. Don't hit me.
It's no fun when you're expecting it. So into this conflicted world comes Jen, an elf-like creature called a gelfling, and on Jen's narrow shoulders rests the fate of the entire world.
Yeah, so first things first, if you haven't seen The Dark Crystal, then you should probably get on that right now.
Yeah.
But if you have seen The Dark Crystal, the question is whether this novel will actually add anything to the experience. Now, Sonya?
Yes.
Skeksy fear aside, you're probably the biggest Henson fan I know. What did you think?
Well, initially, the thing that excited me the most was the fact that Brian Froud was providing the illustrations. He was the lead concept artist for the original movie, so there's no one better. And getting a look at the previously unreleased concept art is a real treat.
Being a novel, though, the bulk of this book is obviously prose, and I found A.C.H. Smith did an excellent job in fleshing out these characters on the page. I've seen The Dark Crystal probably about a half dozen times by this point, but I still found things in the prose that I hadn't even considered before.
Yeah, he shows great respect to the source material, but adds another layer of depth and texture that you don't kind of get from the film. I think this is a definite must for any fan of The Dark Crystal, and I am giving it a megastar buy.
Megastar buy, that's a new one. Okay. Well, look, yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't think that any fans of the original are going to feel disappointed by the end of this one. It's unsurprising, really, given that Jim Henson oversaw the writing of the novel.
Yeah, and that's a cool little extra at the back of this book. You actually get to read Jim Henson's notes on the manuscript. Very cool to read.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm definitely giving it a buy as well.
Awesome. So pop on your wings and head on down to your local bookshop to pick up a copy.
I don't have wings.
Of course not. You're a boy.
Okay, joining us now, we have Ted Adams, CEO of IDW. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ted.
I appreciate having me here.
Now, you're in Australia. You're looking for a bit of new comic talent.
Right.
What have you found so far? Has it been going well?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, this is my first time in Australia, so we actually started IDW with an Australian artist. So Ashwood, who now lives in Perth, was the first person that we published. We did an art book with him called Uno Fanta. So we have a long history with Australian artists. Sure. And then our first comic book was actually 30 Days of Night, which was drawn by Ben Templesmith, also Australian. I think also from Perth, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So we have a pretty long history with Australian artists, and even though I've never been here myself, I've always been excited to come over here and always wanted to visit Ash's family here. So that opportunity to come to Sydney and to Perth is pretty special to me. And that combined with this chance to meet new Australian artists has been great. So we've seen some really interesting people so far. So
so there's been some good content.
Yeah, absolutely. We found a couple people over this weekend that'll start doing covers for us. And,
fantastic.
And so no, it's been really nice. So
has there been anything in particular that you've been looking for, a certain style or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, we're a pretty diverse publisher, so we do everything from very cartoony style to sort of very R-rated kind of horror books, and everything in between. And so really we're not looking for a specific style. It's just good art is more or less what we're looking for. for.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, we're here at Supanova, so it's a great opportunity for people to get their stuff seen. But outside of that, what's a good way for people to get their work in front of you?
It's a good question. It's tough. I always tell people this business is like networking, just like any other business, and so it's meeting other artists.
Yep.
Meeting editors, talking to writers, going to your comic shop, and it's really that networking that you would do with any other kind of business is probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
It's unlikely somebody's going to send me a submission via email that's going to frankly get much attention, just because it's not, it's just, I'm pretty busy running a company.
You'd be snowed under if you had that,
So it really is that sort of networking, and really what Supanova does here is provide this opportunity to people who want to be comic book artists, and when you're presented with something like this, making sure you have your portfolio ready and you have a good story to tell. For me, it's also not just is the art great, but the person's really got to be committed and passionate about doing this for a living, because it's a tough way to make a living.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, IDW, a lot of great titles always coming out. Is there anything coming up that you're especially excited about?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple. Go back to our Australian artists. We have a new book with Ash Wood called Beautiful War, which is the first comic series that he's done for us in a long time.
Fantastic.
That's coming out in the next month or so. I'm actually going to Perth to pry the pages out of his hands so we can publish that one.
Excellent.
And then we're doing a book with Ben Templesmith called The Squitter, which is again Ben's first comic book that he's written and drawn in quite some time. So we're pretty excited about that.
Fantastic.
So we've got those going, and then we've got a couple other books. We've got a book with Walt Simonson called Ragnarok, which comes out in July. Really excited about that one. And then we do a book called Lock and Key, which has been very successful for us.
Love Lock and Key,
one of my
amazing
favorites.
book. Yeah.
And the artist on that is Gabe Rodriguez, and he's doing a new book for us called Little Nemo Return to Slumberland, which is written by Eric Schanauer, who does a lot of Oz adaptations and is an Eisner Award-winning writer. So pretty excited about that one too.
Fantastic. Lots of great stuff coming out. Oh, excellent. Well, look, thank you so much for having a chat with us today.
I
really
appreciate it. All right, thank you.
Well guys, that's it for Kapow at Supanova this year. It's been such an awesome day, but I'm exhausted.
Yeah, me too, but I wish we didn't have to go.
I know, there's still a lot happening. Ray, did you have fun today?
Yes, I did, and Supanova should happen every single day of the year.
Oh, calm down, Ray. I think we need to let him go out and play out there a bit more.
Yes.
We will see you really soon. We will see you really soon, guys. Keep watching the channel, keep subscribing, and talk to us on Twitter. Thanks, guys. Bye.